Welcome to another In Wheel Time podcast, a 30-minute mini version of the In Wheel Time car show that airs live every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central.
Live from the 62nd Annual Autorama at the George R. Brown Convention Center, welcome to the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Just ahead, another guest from this weekend's show. We'll have the car clinic, we think. Plus, we'll have the stories making automotive news headlines. Straight ahead on this edition of the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars. We need more Jeff Dziekan, Chief Engineer David Ainsley. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us today. Again, live from Autorama. And our next guest today is going to be Jim Averil. Is that the way you...
Yep, that's close enough.
Okay. Well, Jim, it's good to see you. He is with TREMEC, the transmission company. And I'll tell you what, if I were in the market for a transmission, you'd be the guy I'd come to see. Your reputation precedes you, my friend.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And that's a good thing.
I'm just waving at fans.
I see. What is it that's made TREMEC so popular?
Well, you know, TREMEC, I think, has a really interesting story. A lot of people in the aftermarket performance arena may not really understand a whole lot about the company. It's actually been around since 1964.
I did not know that.
It's, a long time. Really became popular in the performance arena, I think, probably in the late 90s, kind of in the Mustang world. A lot of the performance guys at that time, you know, some of the Fox bodies, they're starting to get a little more power to them, and the T5 that was in the behind the V8s at that time just wasn't quite adequate to, for the step up for the challenge. So TREMEC saw that as an opportunity, and production-based company really. But for the aftermarket and performance arena, we came out with the TREMEC TKO or 3550, what a lot of people called it back at that time. So it was Was it a replacement 5-speed manual transmission? Yes, yes. It turned out to be, it was in production at one time for an OEM, but then, we saw it as an opportunity. Had, obviously the tooling had all been paid for, so it was a natural. It was very lucrative for TREMEC to get in that, and from a user endpoint, a much stronger transmission, so it really fit the bill for a lot of the guys. That Fox body just took off like crazy, so it was a lot of fun. So that's kind of how we got into it, and looking at that same transmission, seeing a lot of these cars around like today, beautiful cars here. A lot of the GM cars really didn't have an alternative, and so we saw that for us as a big opportunity. Hey, why not make some modifications to this so that people could retrofit these in a lot of the older vehicles and have today's technology, really, a 5 or 6 speed in a car that, maybe came with a 4-speed, and no overdrive was kind of the big thing, obviously. But, shift quality and everything that you get in today's brand new vehicles. And again, a lot of people don't understand or realize TREMEC is the original equipment supplier to a lot of the performance cars, primarily any rear-wheel drive high-performance vehicle, Challengers, Mustangs, Camaros, those all come with a TREMEC.
See, I did not know that.
I did not either.
Yeah, a lot of people, I'm here all weekend, and I have this discussion with almost every customer that comes up. They don't know the background, and it really sets TREMEC apart from a lot of the other aftermarket companies. I think my personal opinion, the economy of scale that TREMEC has, the mass, a lot of people don't realize, but the quality standards that you have to adhere to supply a brand new transmission to the likes of Ford, GM, Chrysler, whomever, pretty demanding. And so we make the same product in the aftermarket, goes down the same assembly lines, all the same equipment that we use for our brand new OEM. You buy a brand new Corvette today, the C8, really cool technology, a brand new DCT dual clutch transmission that we manufacture for that vehicle. But it's all the same equipment, same engineering team, same staff, and we been very fortunate to alter transmissions to make them very easy to install in some of yesteryear's cars.
Where is TREMEC based?
It's a Mexican-owned company based in the headquarters, Mexico City, but our main manufacturing plants we have in Querétaro. It's almost the center of the country. It's been, like I said, been there since 1964. We opened a new manufacturing facility just outside Detroit in Wixom, Michigan, where I'm from. And that's where we build the new Corvette transmissions. And we have a facility over in Belgium A lot of the electronics happens over there. So it's really a global company. It's interesting. A lot of people talk about, well, you're south of the border or whatever, but in our case, we've actually brought manufacturing jobs to the U.S. We've installed capacity in the U.S. So it's kind of interesting. I've been with the company, actually retired now, but they still get me out for these car shows. But I worked for TREMEC for over 25 years. Great company to work for. They really stand behind the product. Quality, we're talking with my partner here. It's really a pleasure for me. I love cars, obviously, and that's why I'm here. But the people that come up and talk to me that have experience with the product, it's great because they're all so happy. They're like, man, this is the best thing I've ever done for my car. That you guys make a great product. So I'm not out there hearing people dodging bullets. So for me, it's just a lot of fun. I love it.
And being up in Wixom, because
Yes.
I'm from the Dearborn area.
Okay. Yep.
You were there in the heart of Motor City.
Yes.
So and
absolutely.
being with the Corvette and the manufacturing facility there.
Yep.
And I think what you said by standing behind the product, it doesn't matter where it's made, as long as you stand behind it. That's what the product's about.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I think TREMEC from a warranty standpoint, and again, when I was with the company full-time status, that was really my responsibility. But I think it's just common sense. Mm-hmm. If something goes wrong with the product, you stand behind it and you just take care of the customer. And everything behind that, it falls into place. If that's what you do, is focus on the customer, all else will work out in the end.
At one point in my life, I had a 1977 Corvette that I ordered new from the factory. Of course, who was to know that it would have less than 200 horsepower? But at any rate, and mine was the bumped-up motor, the L82. Ooh, me. Ooh. And it had a 4-speed manual transmission in it.
Okay.
And nothing special about anything about the car, but I remember having to get it on the freeway, try to do 70 miles an hour, and you're already at 3,000-4,000 RPM.
Right.
And if I were to own that car today, I think the first thing that I would look at is putting in an overdrive.
Yes.
So if I came to you and I said, 77 Corvette, what would you recommend? What would you recommend?
Well, that's an easy one. We've got a transmission just on the other side of the wall here. We call it a TKX. I think I mentioned earlier that the TKO was kind of the big game changer for the Mustang group. We've evolved that transmission. We released a new version of it about 2 years ago, and some of the real big benefits of it, the TKO, a lot of the muscle car guys were putting it in their cars, but some of the like the Novas, the older Novas, and the Chevelles, very tight tunnel, so you had to trim the tunnel to get it in there, which for a lot of folks obviously is a no-go.
Right.
It's totally understand that. We went continue to look at that product and how can we change it to make it fit. Mm-hmm. We want to improve the shiftability of it. A lot of the newer engines, the LS mod motors and that, revving up a lot higher. The TKO was somewhat limited in its high RPM shifts, and also to try to fit in some of those tight tunnels. So worked on it for quite a while, but very successful now. This TKX is an end-load design, just like our other transmission, so it provides a lot more rigidity to the case, much stronger. We upgraded the synchronizer package. It's very similar to what you would buy in if you bought a brand new Camaro today. The same synchronizer package that you get in that Camaro, a triple cone design, which is technology-wise head and shoulders above what the old Muncies and
right.
the old, Saginaws and the rock.
Because that's what I had as a Muncie.
Yep. So you can spin them up and shift at a very high RPM. It's a direct shift, so it's got a great feel to it. Fit right in that Corvette 5-speed. Mm-hmm. So all our transmissions are direct and fourth, so 1 through 4 pretty much the same, and you have an option of either a 6-speed or a 5-speed. So the 6-speed is actually a double overdrive, and often it's depending on what you really want, how you're going to use the vehicle. The 5-speed is often a very good solution, a little cheaper than the 6-speed, a little less expensive. And in the fitment, 6-speed obviously is very big, and it takes up a lot more real estate. Yep. So if you have the room to do that, the 6 is great, but 5's gives you an awful lot of overdrive.
You may not be losing that much by not going to a 6.
Yes.
Particularly if you're tight on space, like you're talking about.
Right. We have a few different overdrive options on the 5-speed, And quite frankly, one of them is a 0.68 overdrive. So it's like a 32% reduction compared to your direct drive that you had in your Muncie.
Well, I have a 2001 Corvette with a 6-speed manual transmission. And is that your transmission?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And brought back, that just blast from the past, the Saginaw, the Muncie, the Rock Crusher.
Yeah, exactly.
My head's going to explode.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, doing 70 miles an hour down the freeway at about 1,800 RPM is sweet. Because that thing will get 25 miles to the gallon.
Absolutely.
And
actually, one of the tools I use when I talked with a lot of customers here, we're just here we're not here trying to push and sell anything. We're trying to educate people basically on the product and answer questions. But TREMEC has an app that you can download, from the Google App Store or whatever. It's a free app, but it's a gear ratio calculator. And it's so nice to talk to people. Your example, you're probably like, 100 people that walk by and say, hey, I've got a 77 Corvette, and it's screaming at me going down, without overdrive.
Right.
And I'll pull up my phone and I'll say, take a look at this app. Let's do some what ifs here. And, so there's different transmissions you can select. It's a little dial wheel. It's a really pretty cool app. And so I can actually pick that Muncie, and I can see the gear ratios, obviously in fourth gear, 1-to-1 ratio. Let's look at your rear gear, 373, your tire height, whatever. We could put all those variables, parameters, put all those inputs in, and I can say, okay, you're at 70 miles an hour, you're cruising 3,000 RPM. Well, let's take another look. Let's choose a transmission. Let's look at this TKX I mentioned. So there's a couple different overdrive options. Let's look at the one with a 0.68 overdrive. What's that do for you? With those same parameters, 373 rear, whatever we pulled out. And your RPMs in that case drops almost 1,000 RPMs.
Seriously.
And when you see that, and you're looking at this, it's one thing for me to say it, but when you're looking at this app and you can do what else, let's change the tire height a little bit. Okay, we went from a 28 to 28.5 inch tire. What's that do? And you can see exactly where you're at RPM wise, at mile per hour. And everybody's eyes just open up and they're like, "Are you kidding me? I can drop 1,000 RPM." And yes, you can.
That's truly amazing.
It is.
Yeah, it is, because I'm sitting here thinking back in the day, if we'd had something like that, we'd try to figure out how to make a 411. At one time, we were trying to make a 456 gear streetable.
Lord,
if you'd have had
Good luck.
something like that. Well, we didn't have much luck at it. The 411 we could handle, but the 456.
Right.
Just too much. But we could have calculated all that stuff instead of just guessing.
Exactly. Yeah, it's such a, I tell people, hey, just, it's the only app TREMEC has. It's pretty cool. It looks like a toolbox, like a snap-on toolbox. Little drawers come out, and there's a couple different things, different ways to look at gear ratio. You can even do it by speed, like some guys use it, for track if they're a quarter-mile guy. And so you can tell your shift points. Let's say my peak, I run out of performance at, say, 6,800. That's my shift points. Okay, what's my speed going to be going through the trap? So it'll show you every
that is so cool.
Every gear, what your mile per hour is. Yeah. And, and again, that might help you if you want to change your rear gear and say, well, hey, I could put a 411 or 456. Now what's it do? You can go through that sequence.
Do all the experimenting without actually changing the parts.
Exactly. Well, I had they call the close ratio.
Yes.
Yeah, transmission in mind.
Yep.
And the TKX, does that offer variations in gear ratios?
Yeah, we have a couple different, again, we alter the overdrive ratio, pretty simple, but we also do what we call a close ratio and a wide ratio. So a wide ratio, we have a first gear option, I think it's a 327. So that's a pretty steep first gear, especially if you mat that up or, made it up to like a 411, 456, you're going to pull stumps and you're going to be pulling for second pretty quick.
Yeah.
But the other option we have is a 287, which is, we probably sell, hands down, probably, I don't know, many, many more of the 287 because it gives you that, you can put a taller gear in the back. I think typically a guy that's kind of on the street, like a 373 and above is a pretty smart setup because you can have that light-to-light fun, step on it, and yet with that big overdrive, you cruise down the highway and your RPM's still way
make it very
down there.
streetable.
So it's in the past, like I said, we were kind of cautious when you get up in that 410 whatever range. It's like, oh man, I can't drive this. It's just not practical. Well, now with the overdrive, you can do that.
Right.
So you can have a pretty tall gear out back. So you're light to light, you're pretty quick, but yet on the highway. Drop it in overdrive.
Yeah, or Saturday night going out to the drag strip, grudge races, or whatever. You don't have to go out there and change gears and stuff.
Grudge race.
I'm just going to use the first 4.
Exactly.
Did you say grudge race?
Yeah.
Did you say that?
Yes, I did.
Said that.
How would you know anything about that?
Well, that's all we
How many
ever
tickets?
had.
How many tickets have you gotten this past year?
Not
Count 'em.
sure.
Go ahead, count them.
No, because his wife Becky's listening.
Yeah.
Yes,
she
she
doesn't
is.
know
She's
about
already commented on it.
Oh no.
Does the shifter does it still fit in the same transmission hole tunnel?
We can do that for just about any vehicle. It's amazing. We have distributors across the U.S., a very limited number of distributors, but they're all specialized in driveline especially. TREMEC does a good job of kind of what I'd say making somewhat of a vanilla transmission. Back to the economy of scale I was talking about.
Right.
So we're running down the same assembly line. For us, the secret is if we don't have too many variations, we can make it, very profitable. But what we've done is partnered up with a lot of really good driveline specialists, and they know every vehicle. They've done so many installs. So, if you got a 69 Chevelle or you got a 72 Nova, they know exactly where that location is, and they'll put the shifter, they'll have an offset. A lot of them are, back in the day, remember all the transmissions usually had a side linkage.
Right.
So the shifter is typically offset toward the driver a little bit, not center line.
Correct.
Where, today virtually all the shifters we make are center line, right down the middle. But if you wanted to come up in that original console location, I see a lot of the guys even have kits for like a Corvette. They'll actually have the little trim plate they'll put in there that, they'll fake you out. Do you want a 4-speed or 5-speed? You might have a 5-speed in the car, but when somebody looks in there, they don't know.
Sure.
Because the shifter is exactly what was the original equipment. So
Interesting.
you can do
Well,
that.
for us that want the purest look.
Right.
And cheat a little bit and come to the car. Oh, that's
sleeper. You can make it like a sleeper.
There you go.
Well, the other thing that's really nice about that too, if you're really concerned, obviously maybe a numbers matching car and you want to keep it that way. Well, a lot of guys will take their old transmission out, put it on behind the workbench somewhere. Everything's bolt-in, so you're not modifying anything. So you can always go back, switch back if you wanted to. If you want to, retain that value of a numbers matching car.
Right. You move on to another project. So
sure.
I'm going to turn this one.
Yep. Yeah. So you're not making any changing modifications that you can't revert back to.
Is it TREMEC.com?
Really nice. Yes, TREMEC.com. Yep.
TREMEC.com. Listen, Jim, it's great to talk to you.
Oh, yeah.
Wealth
of information. No kidding.
We do shows around the world every week with this in real time thing, and there are some places around the world that listen to the show at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. We're just wondering if it'd be okay if we just gave you a ring and did an interview with you at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Always available.
Good answer. Good company man.
So are you going back to Wixom, or you're here in Houston?
Actually, I've got a place in Florida for the winter.
Oh,
so now we're 6 months in Florida in the winter.
You said you retired, and we brought you back.
And we just now got cut off. We're never going to speak to him again.
I know. He's probably got some charter fishing boat that he goes on.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, get out of Michigan just in time. I'll be back. Summers are beautiful there. Can't beat it. But, boy, it's nice to winter down in Florida.
Snowbird.
Yes,
yeah,
I'm a snowbird.
Like
I'm a snowbird.
Jim, thanks so much again for stopping by.
Thanks
Wealth
for
of
having
knowledge,
me.
we appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it, guys.
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
All right. If you'd like to get in touch with us, shoot us an email. The address is info@nwheeltime.com. Again, today we are live at the 62nd Annual Autorama at George R. Brown Convention Center in downtown Houston, Texas, and we thank you for joining us. Time now for a little special, something that Jeff has whipped up for us. It's called The History of Autorama.
Well, that's right, and I need Mike to help me with this, but we'll just go anyway.
No, it's okay. We can pause just a second here. It's interesting. My first Autorama that I went to was at the Albert Thomas Convention Center. I don't know what did it. Was it even? Were you here then?
No.
I
know the Albert Thomas, but not
Albert Thomas Convention Center, which is actually on the other side of downtown from us now. But after Albert Thomas closed, they moved Autorama to the Astro Hall, and that was my first showing. The first time I actually went to an Autorama was over at Albert Thomas. This is, I guess, 68, 69, somewhere there. And then I actually showed the Corvette at Astro Hall with the Corvette Club, and that was an absolute fun as could be. I remember distinctly move-in was similar to the way it is here a couple of days before the event opened, and thousands of cars, it seemed like. And it rained as we moved in.
Yeah. Well,
as we moved in. And I remember my good friend, and you've met them, and if you're familiar with the show, Bill and Sharon Seitz, and they had a '69 Corvette, and it was detailed just absolutely perfectly. And, of course, they had to trailer it into the show. Rained all the way there. Well, what wound up doing was they basically put saran wrap over the top of it, something like saran wrap. And as they were driving down the freeway, you know, it doesn't really cling to the car once you get the air moving over it. It kind of flaps along. Oh, my gosh. It darn near ruined the paint finish because as it was flapping going down.
It's rubbing away.
Yep, rubbing away.
Man.
It was bad.
Man.
Mr. Mars, do you think that you could spend
That's
just
all right. I'll just get it going here.
all right, well, let's just do this, okay?
All right.
All right.
So the first Autorama was
It's okay. You can do more than one thing.
I know.
Can I help you here?
Yeah, look at that. I can do two things at once.
Okay, there you go.
Look at that.
Okay.
The first Autorama was in Detroit, the University of Detroit, the Memorial Building on January 31st, and it ran through February 1st in 1953. It featured only 40 cars, and it was hosted by members of the Michigan Hot Rod Association, which is the MHRA, which was created only a year before to organize small local clubs in one unified body to raise money because they needed to pull them off the streets, maybe make a drag racing event out of it to be a safe environment. So around 1,500 people attended the inaugural, and it was a hit. So eventually the MHRA grew to also include clubs from the customizing and hot rodding scene, such as the Motor City Modifiers, the Bearing Burners, the Spark Plugs, who combined their efforts to pull off the first event, along with the Detroit car clubs such as the Road Kings, the Shifters, and the Millwinders. 1954, the MHRA decided to enlarge the space to show that they could bring more people in, so they went to the Michigan State Fairgrounds. 1955, they moved to the Detroit Artillery Armory before moving back to the fairgrounds in 56. The first Autorama to be held in the Cobo Hall in Detroit was in 1961. Gentlemen, I was there.
Were you really?
Yes. 1957, the MHRA hired Don Riddler. Now, Larry talked about Don Riddler as a promotion agent and publicist for the show. Riddler booked bands, popular people to play at the Autorama, also booked acts like Dwayne Eddy, the Big Bopper. He helped gain attendance. Riddler died an untimely death in 1963. And in his honor, the Riddler Award became famous after that.
That's where it came from.
Yeah. He was actually from Novi, Michigan. Autorama continued to expand through the 60s and 70s, and in the 70s, Autorama was the highest-paying car show in the country with a $500 cash as well as a trophy to go to the Riddler winners. Autorama was the first to be placed in the 70s, featuring not only featured cars such as the Monkey Mobile, creations from Ed Roth, George Barris, but also more bands, television personalities, and, David, Playboy Playmates. Yep.
David.
So
why did you have to bring him in?
I know it. Well, he likes Playboy Playmates, and it went through the 80s and 90s.
Still have Playboy Playmates?
I think so.
Yes.
Exhibitors started traveling from across the country to fight.
So I'm told.
To fight for the show's top prize. Many local Detroit and Michigan entries became less competitive because they were competing against other folks from other states, and they were have much larger budgets to build more cars.
Right.
And as of this year, the show has existed for 70 years. Autorama.
Yep. The first Autorama I ever entered in back a long time ago in Beaumont. They actually had one there. And it was the rodeo arena. And everybody was parked on the sawdust and stuff for the rodeo arena. There was a few guys came out of Houston, looked at it, and left, went back to Houston.
I was going to say, no, as a show car guy, you ain't parking on sawdust and dirt.
And Donald George Riddler, he had a long history. He was he's a football coach. He was a basketball coach. He was a technical advisor, athletic director at Lawrence Technology University. He has a litany of knowledge for automobiles and for people, is what it was.
Well, it's interesting how things have changed clearly over the years, and this show has evolved since we've been doing it here at George R. Brown Convention Center. It's kind of stayed the same except for the cars. There's always an evolution of cars, and especially this year. Last year we were just beginning to come out of COVID.
Right.
And there weren't as many cars, but this year it's a full house.
It is. I mean, it's the only empty space I found was the little 10 by 10 that's right back here behind us. That I guess.
Why didn't you grab that?
Well, because it's like way back.
38 feet away.
38 feet back behind us.
Yeah, but that's the only, and it just stands out because it's in between a couple of vehicles. It's like, but what would you put there? A motorcycle is about all you're going to do.
Yeah.
We could find something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A hot dog stand or something.
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
Hot dogs.
It does sound good, doesn't it? All right.
A cup of coffee would be good.
I know, we keep saying that. The In Wheel Time Car Show streams on the iHeart Radio app, Facebook, YouTube at InWheelTime.com. And don't forget, podcasts are available on your favorite podcast channel. The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show continues right after this quick break.
Starting to work on your Christmas calendar? Be sure to add the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In Saturday, December 17th. You'll want to attend Tailpipes and Tacos Christmas Edition at the Loopy Tortilla in Katy, 8 to 11 a.m. It's the only place cruisers compete for Loopy's Chili Pepper trophies and other prizes. There's no charge to enter your vehicle for Best Hot Rod, Best Classic, or Best Modern Classic. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's coolest and most unique cruise-in and is your opportunity to see the best hot rods, show cars, classics, and resto mods. And get Loopy Tortilla breakfast tacos with adult beverages. There's no entry fee and cars will automatically compete for those much sought-after custom Loopy trophies and other prizes. It happens at the Loopy Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10. It's the Tailpipes and Tacos Christmas Edition, Saturday, December 17th. The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show will be there too. Celebrate the Christmas season with friends and family at Tailpipes and Tacos. Saturday morning, December 17th, 8 to 11. We'll see you then, weather permitting.
Hey, Houston! America's greatest hot rod tradition is back. Thanksgiving weekend. The O'Reilly Auto Parts Autorama at the George R. Brown Convention Center. 4 action-packed days of hot rods, customs, classics, trucks, performance cars, and live music. Do not miss the Ultimate Lowrider Showcase, sponsored by Shorty's Hydraulics and the Traditional Rod Garage. Saturday only, it's the Tuner Galleria with 250 imports, JDM, and luxury cars, plus music and models. On the celebrity stage, presented by Nick's Auto Repair and Classic Car Restoration, meet Bad Chad and wife Jolene from Bad Chad Customs on Friday. Saturday, it's Dave Kindig from TV's Bitch and Ride. Sunday, it's Danny Coker and Kevin Mack from TV's Counting Cars. Shop the swap meet and women's world all weekend. The O'Reilly Auto Parts Autorama this weekend at the George R. Brown Convention Center. Discount tickets at O'Reilly Auto Parts, part of the Summer Racing Equipment Show Car Series. See Autorama.com for more info.
The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show is now part of the iHeart family. Now you'll have access to 24/7 Car Talk anytime you need a fix. Just download the iHeart Radio app and ask for In Wheel Time Car Talk, and there we are. Be sure to save us in your iHeart library for instant access. No matter where you are, you have the best Car Talk Show right on your PC, laptop, or mobile device and never have to worry about finding us again. Of course, you can always get access to our video and audio streams via InWheelTime.com and your favorite podcast channel, and all of this is free to you. From the iHeart Radio app, you'll not only hear our Saturday morning live show, but the best shows of the past, updated weekly. Never miss a minute of up-to-date new car reviews, pre-owned reviews, Conrad's Car Clinic, informative interviews, automotive news, and the most fun car talk show on the planet. Just download the iHeart Radio app, search for In Wheel Time Car Talk, save it to your library, and with a tap of the icon, you'll be in touch with your favorite Car Talk team. In Wheel Time Car Talk, streaming now on iHeart.com/InWheelTimeCarTalk.